We're going to talk about some further explanations of the pitfalls or the downsides of an IUL. Hello and welcome everyone to the third podcast of 2024 of It's Your Life. My name is Paul Zimney, and together with my partner Shannon Carpenter, today we're going to follow up on last week's episode entitled What is an Indexed Universal Life or IUL Policy? And we're going to talk about some further explanations of the pitfalls or the downsides of an IUL. Our goal is simply to help you improve your life, your family's life, and your legacy. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Shannon to share his thoughts and experiences regarding the downsides of an Indexed Universal Life or IUL policy.
Sure thing. Thank you, Paul. Well, first of all, an IUL was invented in 1997 by Transamerica, and back then they weren't the greatest policies. I'm not even sure if they had zero floors because, you've heard tons of stories where Granny got a letter saying, hey, thanks for all your money for all these years. The market crashed and you have no policy, you have nothing left, you have no cash value, everything's gone, right? That can't happen today because, as we talked about last week, you have that zero floor. But I think there are still some pitfalls to an IUL, and I think if you don't know what the pitfalls are and to look out for them, there are definitely some agents out there that either weren't trained correctly, let's say, or maybe they know them and they just don't care. I don't know if they're just trying to make a sell, but I want to discuss what those are, and there's really only two. The biggest two would be, one, the cost of insurance. So the cost of insurance on an IUL go up every single year. So if you were to start off a policy at, let's say, 30 years old versus 50 years old, then the cost of insurance is going to be much lower for the 30-year-old. And it's going to grow and grow and grow over time. The 50-year-old, however, if they start off and they already have a higher cost of insurance, that's going to keep growing. That might hurt your policy in the long run. The other thing that might hurt your policy are the fees. There are some crazy fees with an IUL. And you can look at different companies and their fees, and you can see who has higher fees and who has lower fees. So every company can give you an illustration and say, here's what we predict you're going to gain. Here's what we predict the market's going to do. But the only thing they can really control is the cost of insurance and their fees. So you want to find a company that has low cost of insurance and low fees. And our top probably 5 carriers that we deal with, we know those fees and we know what the cost of insurance is very well. But when I say fees, I like to scare people. I actually made a separate TikTok video just showing the fees. And I use one of the companies that has a little bit of higher fees. The fees at age 65, if I'm not mistaken, were right at $10,000 for the year. That's kind of crazy, right? But if you look at the bonus, fixed, and index credits, that year, that individual got right at $87,000. That tells me that policy is structured properly for that specific person. I don't know of anybody that wouldn't trade me $10,000 for $87,000 back, right? That's a net profit of $77,000. And next year, it's going to go up. You're going to get even more money. So those would be the two pitfalls that I would advise people to look for. And again, I think the biggest thing is just find an agent that you can trust, ask them about the fees, ask about the cost of insurance, and see if they know how to find those two things in an illustration and see if they can intelligently review those with you. And if you can, you probably have a good agent. Back to you, sir.
Awesome, Shannon. Thanks so much. Yeah, and as a former CPA myself, I know it's all about the numbers. So my comments there would be, your age, as Shannon mentioned, in relation to your coverage amount, to your selected premium amount, are going to make a huge difference. And when we run those illustrations for people, we want to get a policy in place that is going to be right for you for the long term. So I think that wraps it up for today. Thanks, Shannon. And we will talk to you all next week on another episode of It's Your Life.